Hello and welcome to another rootin' tootin' episode of Boys Gone Wild. This is a special episode, as all are, because we've got new lights in. I've been using natural light for most of Boys Gone Wild, and it's looked like utter shite. And now it looks proper profesh. You're watching this. If you're on YouTube, put it to 4K. You'll see that both me and Andrew are not amazing at taking care of ourselves. There's going to be some blackheads on show. From the last episode that I was very happy with, but I do think as these things you'll learn as we move on. I think I did touch too much on Andrew's alcohol problem. I thought I really hammered the point home, and I don't want to talk about it again. But we're shooting this during Andrew's week off, and we were meant to shoot this kind of early in the week, but he's been hungover. He's hungover today. He was drunk today, and the reason we're shooting this later in the day is because Andrew hit the bottle again. When he knew we were shooting this, he was up till 4 a.m. last night, and I think it is quite irresponsible that he gives so much more commitment to his job at fucking, can't say it, an unnamed banking corporation than he does for a podcast with at least 4 people subscribed to the Patreon. You know, that's a growing number. That's cash rolling in, and he's choosing actively to disregard that. It's unprofessional and it's disrespectful to my listeners, the fans of the, not my fans, the fans of the podcast, and himself. But a good little factoid is that throughout my relationship with Andrew, we've often had to wake up early to shoot things. He's often stayed up later than me drinking on his own, and many times it was like a weird deja vu because I haven't lived with Andrew for a while. I had to go down in the morning and check the Jack Daniels bottle, and it's like a little meter of what, Andrew, you're going to get today. If it's like at the top, it's workable. Middle, you don't know. If it's near the bottom, it's a tough day. Today it was in the middle. It was only half of the Jack Daniels bottle was gone. So I think there's something to work with. Am I right, Andrew?
I wanted to film yesterday. I was ready to do this podcast yesterday, but Horatio comes downstairs in the morning declaring that he needs to go and get his penis checked.
Not my penis, my
it was
bladder.
his
Well,
penis.
yeah, it was
you needed to go and get your penis touched by your girlfriend's father.
Yeah, well, if you say it like that, it sounds a lot weirder.
Well, it is weird.
He is a doctor. But yes,
it helps.
I need to get this shit checked out for a long time.
I've been saying for a couple of years.
Yeah, I guess.
I think you just quickly explain what's happening.
I mean, it's weird.
It's insane.
It's a medical.
It's a marvel. It's a medical mystery.
Between 2 and 3 years, I can't really remember when it started. But basically, see, this is annoying. I didn't want to talk about your alcoholism. That's how I opened the show. And I don't want to talk smut. But this is going to be a 10-minute segment of me talking about not even my cock and balls, which is silly and fun. My bladder. No, because bladder is not a fun. Bladder's not silly.
Well, given the results of yesterday's,
you don't draw bladders in a school textbook.
Given the results of yesterday's checkup, it's more of it's of medical interest rather than smut now. Okay. It is now becoming something.
All right, fine. So this is okay. If people who are, because a lot of my fans, they're not used to this much smut. So I think this counts as of medical interest. And if any other doctors are out there, I would like some help.
This is a plea for help.
Yeah, this is a plea for help. I need to press on my bladder when I piss. Does anyone else have that? Is that just me?
No one has that.
I have to push like this, like I'm an old man.
Can you? How firmly do you have to push?
with like these 2 fingers. I push firmly.
2 fingers.
Depends. It depends because it varies. Not always, but most of the time, I have to push when I urinate. And it started, and I thought that was a bit weird. I started getting it checked out about a year and a half ago. I've gone to 6, maybe 7 different doctors, and all they've ever done is, it could be this, take these pills, come back in a month. Come back in a month, nothing's happened. I've had 3 fingers up my arse to check. They've checked everything. You know what? What I've learned from this is that I'm remarkably healthy in many ways because every single measurable metric, I'm banging it out the park. My blood's good. My piss is good.
But it's
my prostate's good. But clearly something's wrong.
There is something wrong.
Yeah, I've had 2 ultrasounds.
2 years.
2 ultrasounds because they did one just to check they hadn't missed anything. You know when they get the jelly and they see what's going on down there into my bladder. Afterwards, he was like, "What are you in here for again?" I was like, my bladder.
Fact that
He's like, your bladder's great. What are you talking about?
Bladder?
I'm pushing my bladder to piss.
For 2 years. How many
2
pisses
years.
did you say? 80% of 80% of weeds?
You're getting a bit focused on the percentage. It doesn't really work like that.
But it feels like it. I
can
get
be
uncomfortable knowing the fact that we live together, and every time you go for a wee, you're pushing on your bladder in order to get it out.
Why are you uncomfortable? Because you're
I
concerned for
don't
my
like-
health.
I am concerned for your health, and I have been.
I don't like this
but
medical shaming.
But I also don't like the idea of you being in the bathroom pushing on your bladder every time you go for
That's
a wee.
that's a bit of shaming.
It's not
isn't
the
it?
kind of house I want to live in.
That's a little bit of shaming,
Absolutely.
medical shaming. I'm doing a serious. I don't talk about your acid reflux, do I?
Well, that's a lot more of that's a bigger medical
Your
issue
fucking
than it
acid
is.
reflux, disgusting.
It's less of a visceral image of me lying in bed salivating aggressively.
What is acid reflux again?
It's you just get a lot of saliva.
So you look at he's on the ropes now. He didn't expect this to go like that.
I don't know. Acid reflux isn't on the planner. Actually, I'm not ready for this. Acid reflux is the experiences. You can feel a strong build up. It feels like saliva coming up into your mouth, and it's like a strong burning pain in your throat. Weirdly, when I talk about it, I feel it. I'm getting it right now.
Repulsive.
I'm getting it right now.
Yeah, it makes me feel uncomfortable.
But back to the fact that you have to
dribbly
push.
Dribbly Drew.
Back to the fact that you have to push on your bladder every time you go for a wee.
Yeah.
What did your girlfriend's dad say
this
time?
is what's a bit surreal about my relationship with my girlfriend and her family now. I don't know many people who this early into a relationship have had the
Their
girlfriend's father
your
fondle my
penis.
cock. I don't. It's kind of
Message
strange to
him.
think about it, but the fact is, no matter the context, my girlfriend's dad has fondled my cock.
But where did you mentioned yesterday that you drew the line at some point?
Yeah.
Where did you draw the line?
Well, what do you mean draw the line? Oh yeah, I drew the line because we basically, I went there because I have recently moved to East London and I had no time to set up a doctor's, and I was getting sick of it. My girlfriend was getting worried. She was like, just go to my dad's in Harrow, hour and 10 minutes there, not in fucking London.
Those are the worst kind of journeys when you're traveling a long way.
Yeah, what, to get your girlfriend's dad to fondle your cock? Yeah, those are the worst.
Those
kind
are
of
the worst
yeah.
kind of journeys.
Nightmare journey. And I got there, and we had general small talk. He's a very good doctor. He fondled my cock. I gave him a vial of my piss. He took 3 vials worth of my blood. And then after we'd done everything, and he was like, "Oh, it's all pretty good." He was like, "I assume you've had your prostate check?" And I was like, "Yes, I have." I was like, "Let's leave it there." That was where we were like, but it was close. He could have easily done it.
The main point of this is the fact that it's still a mystery, even to this day. As I say, it's been going on for 2 years, and
Yeah.
I am as concerned about your health as I am fascinated about the answer to what the fuck is happening. So if there's any doctors out there who are listening to Boys Gone Wild,
To be honest, I've spoken to the best urologist, which is like a bladder specialist in London. Like, it's genuinely, I thought I had a bad doctor.
they're all stumped.
I had a bad doctor, so I told my girlfriend's dad, I think it was just a bit of a bad doctor. What's his name? Told him, and he goes, "That's the best urologist in London." He's taking a look, and he's just like,
And that's not a title you
like they
receive,
suggest things, like he goes, it could be irritable bladder syndrome, but the way
He's
he
just
said
making
it-
up stuff
the
now.
way he's saying
making up
it's
shit
just
now.
like, yeah, I don't know, fucking, I've got loads of shit thrown at me.
But it must be quite a stressful situation to have to push on your bladder every time you go for a wee.
It's more
And
of
then
a
go
kind
to
of- yeah.
doctors who then make up words to try and are just essentially stumped by the fact of what is happening.
I
Must be
guess
quite
it is-
disconcerting. Has it affected you in everyday life?
Yeah, it definitely has.
What's it changed about
It's
you?
just annoying. I have to go for I can't like go too long without piss. It's a bit of a nightmare. But
It's not the most profound change, but
But I think the thing is, it's not so much viewing it as like having a stressful life. It's the new normal. You know?
Yeah.
That's very much how it feels.
but then has it taught you anything? Have you changed in your character from going through
It's
this troubling
taught
time?
me- I guess what is really tough is that I have to press my bladder to urinate quite
Again,
a bit.
you're just saying the symptoms at the moment, but
Yeah, but if I can hear anyone talking outside the toilet,
Oh, yeah.
or if I'm urinating in public and there's another guy next to me,
Yeah.
I genuinely can't do it.
Yeah.
And I've had many
Stage
a time
fright.
that I've been in a pub urinal pressing on my
He's
bladder,
always there.
and then some geezer behind me will be like, "Ah, it looks like you're bloody wanking, mate," and like that's happened like lots of times because from the back I'll show on
Yeah,
camera.
I think you could do it. Just crouch down a bit.
Look, so I'll be pushing like that.
The important thing here is the arm motion.
Does that look like wanking? That probably does.
It absolutely would. I'm sure it does. So it's a very fair question
Yeah,
from the man
no,
behind
but it's
that.
not fair for a stranger to say to another stranger. I don't think that's...
Well, if they think you are.
No, but it's kind of jovial. And then I turn around and explain in detail. I always explain in detail. It is
Don't let
killer.
them lead the
Oh,
bathroom.
it's so good because they're the big kind of geezerish smile. I've had like big, like tough geezers go like, oh my God, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
And like completely, I win every time because I go into details.
Think before you make a joke in the urinal. Mm-hmm. That's all I'd say.
This is a men's health podcast. I forgot to really hammer that home, but
Oh yeah.
this is a men's mental and physical health podcast.
Yeah. So that's why. So there's a bit of smart,
there's a
but
bit of
it's
smart.
also because we're engaging in the smart. We're talking about the issues that might be the silent killers out there.
Anybody else with irritable bladder syndrome, comment below. But yeah, so what's happening in the news? I don't really know much about this story, but this is the boy gone wild this week.
Harry Maguire. Harry Maguire is the boy gone wild this week. Yeah,
That's the one thing I knew.
Well, there he was the boy gone wild this week.
The one thing
What are you asking me for new information?
Yeah, because you know you've done the research.
I have done some research about.
Yeah, so
Harry
what actually
Maguire.
happened? This is what people are here for.
Harry Maguire was in Greece
Yep.
on a holiday.
Once again.
It's the. Give
So,
me a
okay,
moment.
all right,
of
all right,
Jesus
all right, all right.
Christ.
All right.
Harry Maguire was in Greece
Yeah.
for his holiday. The football season is off at the moment. He's maxing relaxing in, is it Mykonos? I presume it's Mykonos.
let's go for
You
that.
know, just getting his Z's in. But he's been on holiday with his brother and his friend, I think his girlfriend as well. And he was then out
Naughty.
at a club. Mm-hmm. And then there was an altercation with the police, essentially. It's kind of unclear how that altercation came about.
Yeah.
But I think so. There is reports that someone injected his sister with a rape substance.
Not injected.
Injected.
That's wild. So it wasn't even like slipping into a drink.
No. Apparently, yeah, it's injected. The word that is being used is injected.
Because if I was a date rapist, that would not be my course of action. Going around with a needle, I think, gives the game away.
It really wouldn't. And I don't get how there's this kind of confusion whether or not she was injected with something.
Yeah, that should be pretty...
It should be pretty obvious.
The guy with the needle,
It's like, well, did he?
Was it that dude?
did he do it? I mean, there'll be a needle prick and everything.
Yeah.
But so there was an altercation that happened between him and some other fellas.
Sure.
I think locals, maybe not. Don't hold me to that. Then the police got involved. And then he's been charged after this. It's all about the altercation with the police.
Yeah.
So he's been charged with verbal assault, physical assault, and bribery.
Wow.
Because during it, he was essentially there was a bit of fisticuffs, a bit of pushy shovey kind of things.
Mm-hmm.
But then he said, "Do you know who I am? I am the captain of Manchester United. I am very rich. I can give you money. I can pay you. Please let us go." So I love. There's a lot of bravado at the start of that sentence with it ends with, "But please let me go."
I am the captain of Manchester
I am the captain of Manchester United. Please let me go. So then he was arrested, brought back into the police station, which is my favourite part of the story actually, because apparently one of the officers kicked him and said, "Your career is over."
Right, that's
kicked
great.
him in the leg. I like to think he thought he was actually going to injure him forever, or just give him shin splints and said, "You'll never play football again." Not because of the fact he's been arrested, because of that kick. The two are mutually exclusive.
You're going to be in the injury room for another 2 years.
He is, mate, with this kick, with this boot.
Take this, a broken fibia. That's 2 years out.
He didn't even know he was arrested. He's just
a Chelsea fan.
Just a Chelsea fan.
For people who don't like football, Harry Maguire's
Tune
England and Man United captain. Maybe not England, but he's a big
not captain.
he's a big defender.
He was dropped
with
from the
a fat
England
head.
squad because of this.
Yeah.
Which is fair. That's a
It's
lot
fair.
of
You got to. If you're Gareth, you're going to have to do that. He's got a big fat head, and he's
got the largest head in football.
Yeah, but it was a famous head. What adds a bit of context to this story is that his big fat head was a big part of English culture for the great summer of 2018 that we all remember when football was coming home. A lot of the reason why football so nearly came home was because of Harry Maguire's big fat slab head. Because during that whole World Cup, we did much better than we normally do, and the reason is that we got all of the biggest headed people in football.
Yep.
And the way we scored I know it might be boring if you don't like football, is that we'd have set pieces where we'd do corners and free kicks. We'd just put it into the box, and then we'd have like 4 of the biggest headed footballers in the whole of the world running in, trying to head it in the goal. And honestly, we've been passed out of the park for all of the World Cups. The story is Spanish, French, Germans just outplay us. They are much more exotic. They understand the game. They're constantly developing. We're behind. And the reason why we finally did well in a World Cup is because we played to our strengths, which is big fat heads that they just weren't ready to deal with. Everyone was terrified whenever he had a corner because we had fucking Harry Maguire's big fat head.
Football is no longer about skill; it's about surface area.
This is what the science is coming back. You know?
Absolutely. And Harry Maguire is the biggest bastion of the surface area of the man's forehead and general skull.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, the big-headed man was put in jail in Greek prison, probably overnight. But he's been sentenced to 13 months in prison in a Greek jail.
It's insane.
So it's delayed for 3 years because in the Greek system, if it's your first offence, your sentence gets suspended automatically for 3 years, which means he's obviously not going to serve 13 months in a Greek prison.
Yeah.
It would be fantastic if he had to. You can join gangs in prison. What gang would Harry Maguire be a part? Is he a white nationalist? Is he a skinhead? Is he part of the Latino kind of?
I wonder if
cartel vibe.
Yeah. Because if you were in prison, it does seem like no matter how much racial progress there seems to be happening in general, prisons seem to be pretty still racially segregated. And if we did go to prison, we would join the white gang. It wouldn't be like I think all of the kind of liberal sort of like this is absurd. I think you'd just for pure safety you'd have to join the white gang, wouldn't you?
I guess so.
Or do you think you'd like to be like the cool white guy in the Latinos?
There's no such thing as the cool white guy in just doing his own thing.
Yeah.
No, I think I really wouldn't cope in prison. No, absolutely not.
Why not? Because I mean, most I don't know many people who thrive, but why do you think you wouldn't cope more than most?
It's not more than most. Maybe I'm thinking about it in terms of imagine the moment where you're gonna be here, you're in prison for 3 years or something. Because what would I get in prison for? It would probably be a misdemeanor.
No, it'd be white collar crime.
White collar crime. Like subverting the banking system.
Yeah, it'd be something like that
for personal gain.
Yeah.
Well, that's that's the worst. Because there must be loads of like pretty rich white men in prison who have done something like that.
Corruption. The same thing as like
exactly
thugs,
and they must have a horrible time in there.
Yeah,
I mean, I think mine would be a misdemeanor. It would be some sort of public exposing
you urinate a lot in public.
I've been caught twice publicly urinating by the police.
It would be something like that for sure, and it would only really.
But maybe there's a bit of street cred in that.
Yeah, I would say so, but I think it's the only reason you could ever get locked away for pissing in the street would be if you did it somewhere like Greece, because it seems like if you're doing it abroad.
Yeah, they seem to be very unhappy with any kind. Well, it's the whole thing about the English people coming over. Everyone hates English people, particularly English tourists.
In Europe,
English tourists are the worst kind of people. But for the Greek authorities or any authorities, they absolutely hate them.
Yeah, of course.
And I understand.
Yeah, completely.
We're the worst.
We are just terrible abroad. We've got this island mentality. But I do think that Brits abroad and Harry Maguire is a great example of this. It is the last vestige of the great English tradition of fucking up other countries. And we've been doing that for years, and we do it. Lots of countries have fucked up other countries. That's like a thing that happens throughout history. But we really near the end of kind of that period, we really perfected it in a sense that we
something like 25% of the world's
25% of the world. But it's more that we like there's loads of empires, Roman Empire, Persian Empire. They all fuck up other countries for their own gain. But we got on boats and just went all like places that
we went ham.
Australia then thought, there's no way they're going to get us here. No, got on a boat, fuck that country up. Like
we got them.
That is a great English tradition, and now that we're sort of like blunt on the world stage, it's kind of post World War II. We're sort of trying to refining our identity, which is like we're no longer this world, which is why it's quite funny. Being in the UK now is because we're stuck at this awkward point. We're not like Finland or Sweden who have like kind of been not that present on the world stage so they can accept their identities. We're still sort of caught between this idea that we're a world power even though we're not. So it's this awkward transition stage.
I see the Harry Maguire story coming from the same historical development as Brexit.
For sure.
We're struggling with our sense of loss of power on the world stage.
Take back control.
Take back control. Send Harry Maguire to Greece and get him to verbally assault and bribe a police officer.
Yeah, he's one of the great like last colonialists.
He's a soldier.
Yeah, he's a soldier because that's
soldier.
all we have left is that we go to fucking Spain.
And make it just a bit difficult.
We just make it upsetting. We would like the real modern day English colonialism is those kind of English settlements on the Spanish coast with racist Brexiteers.
Well, Benidorm and
who like have towns where it's like pubs, bowls. They don't eat the food
because
they just like the sun.
There's a British obsession with going to another country only to ingest the same culture.
Yeah,
and an uproar when there isn't the British culture there to digest.
Yeah. 100%.
So then we just build our own towns there.
Yeah, and it's almost like furious that they don't speak the language.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
it's just the sun.
It's just the sun.
Because what is weird about Brits abroad, which I don't see as much in other countries, is that there's genuinely not a huge amount of English pride. I don't think there is. If you go to like even Greece stuff, the Greek, Spanish, they're proud of being Greek and Spanish. We're not proud. We don't like being English. We're not proud of being English, but we think we're better than everyone else, which is it's a weird thing where we're not patriotic in the sense that we're the best. You know, it's not like Americans who are like,
but that's the
Americans.
That's the historical power thing.
We're like, England sucks.
There's something in our historical memory of us being the most powerful, but now we're fully aware of the fact that we were horrible with it. So there's a hangover of feeling
it's like muscle memory.
It's muscle memory of feeling like people feeling like we should be the ones in charge, but are fully conscious of the fact that when we were in charge, we were absolute dickheads about it.
So like, what's funny about like expats in Spain and Brits abroad in general is you speak to about England, they'll describe it as a shithole.
Yeah.
And I don't think any other country does that. Like, I don't even think England's that much of a shithole, but I think weirdly it's part of English culture to like hate your country in a weird way. Like, I don't think you don't go to a lot of people and like they'll talk about their homeland, even if it's going through a lot of stuff. They wouldn't describe it as a shithole. They'd be supportive of it. We'd be like, oh, it's a shithole. It always rains. The food's crap. Like all of this. Oh, it's so unexotic. And then we'll go somewhere else and we'd be like, yeah, we're still better than everyone else.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. We almost hate the land we live on, but love this fake culture that we've developed on it.
Or we hate the land we live on, but we hate it less than every other land.
Yeah, it's true. But then try and recreate that land in different countries because it's a self-flagellation thing.
Yeah.
It's a self-flagellation thing.
Yeah.
Should we get? We'll get back onto some topics with Maguire. So the fun. With Harry Maguire being the soldier, he's essentially, because as a footballer, he's a geezer who's bloody good at football. But he's then got into a classic English altercation of getting drunk, getting rowdy, getting in with the having an altercation with the police. But then he gets the top Greek human rights lawyer in order to defend him at the trial. And the human rights lawyer, this is going to become a human rights issue.
Yeah.
No, it's not. He was a dickhead and was verbally assaulted and physically, I think, assaulted a police officer.
Yeah.
And then what's the human right aspect to that?
That's it perfectly sums up the English dichotomy of being like thugs, scumbags,
but passionately reserving our right to do it. So he then did an Instagram post, which I think, again, there's a couple of things that are my favourite parts of this story.
Oh yeah, he did.
His Instagram post.
To me this morning.
What
did he say?
He did an Instagram post which had the caption: 3 things cannot be hidden: the sun, the moon, and the truth. I like to think that post is mostly about the sun and the moon.
Yeah, for sure. It's the truth, I guess. So.
Oh, the truth, I guess, but you can't hide the sun and the moon.
The Greek thing, yeah, cool. But mainly, I think it's just important.
I'm in trouble with the Greek officials, but the sun and the moon, you can't hide them. They're always there.
It's important to remember.
It is important to remember. He's just reminding us.
Who was he quoting?
It was like a Buddhist proverb.
Really?
Yeah.
So do you think, I love the idea that when they wrote that, the last thing they could ever imagine was Slabhead Harry using that as the truth being
on Instagram to defend himself because he tried to bribe a Greek official. It's definitely not the intended purpose of the line.
I don't know. See, there's part of me, and maybe this is kind of bad, but there is, as much as I agree with everything I've said about how it's kind of appalling and stuff, there is a small part of me, and it also happened during Brexit, where there's a little bit like, there's a tiny bit I respect it. just the pure fuck-offery of a lot of this kind of modern Britain, where we, like, for example, Brexit. It's like every expert in the world was saying it was a terrible decision. We're like bankrupt as a country. We can't afford to do stuff like this.
It's ballsy.
And it's just something ballsy, just like, fuck off. Fuck off,
you economic experts and Greek police officials. We know what we're doing.
There is something weirdly like respectful, admirable. That's there's something weird
because there's an admiration in fucking up so grandly, but doing it in style, as in not giving a fuck,
just not
giving a fuck about it.
Yeah,
and I think this is our lifetime of Britain. Is we're now living with the absolute the admiration of not giving a fuck about the decisions that we're making, and then I think our children will then be living with the consequences.
But there's something weirdly admirable about that. I don't know. It's just like that short-term thinking that is
exactly.
Yeah.
Well, it is. It's so brazenly obvious that we're making the wrong decisions, but we do these decisions with such passion.
Because it goes historically. It does go like Henry VIII, the break from Rome. He was
one of the.
What a big fuck off! Like once again,
you have to admire. You have to admire changing an entire country's religion
so he can get a divorce.
He
demolished all of the monasteries. Like
he lost interest in a woman, and now we're all Protestants. It's a top moment in history.
Yeah.
And it's Harry Maguire's Greek episode. It's a continuation of the Henry VIII attitude.
It's a great British tradition, you know?
It's
really, like the pub, it's like cricket. It is one of the great British traditions.
It really is.
Going to another country and fucking shit up and just...
but then vehemently defending it whilst chucking in a Buddhist proverb with some sense that you've done something philosophical.
Yeah, it's just I think it is a funny time to be British. I really do. Cause there's so little future, but there's just
other than when we reap the consequences of all of these decisions that we're making. It is funny to see what's happening. It's funny. It's almost the way in which we do it is funny as heck. Yeah. But the consequences are going to be horrendous.
Because there's so much wild shit that's happened worldwide, but so much specifically in the UK. I've even found like normally films and like stuff normally dates maybe like 10 years after it's made or like 15 years. What's weird about how mad the last 4 years have been, basically from Brexit onwards, Brexit, Trump, coronavirus, all of that together, is just some of the wildest shit that's happened in 4 years. If I watch a film from 2015, it immediately seems dated. Yeah. Because immediately it just seems...
Well, because so much of art has had to, as a response to culture, has had to change so dramatically. Because there's a big thing about satire, and like with Trump now, with the existence of Trump and to a certain extent Boris Johnson, is that it's just not possible to satirize anymore. Because politicians are self-satirizing entities that you can't take the piss out of, because everything that they're doing in the media and in their general day-to-day life is just now satire.
That's why satire's wank. Like the satire was at
That's
its
why
best.
satire's wank.
It's why have you seen like the fucking like things like the Match Report and stuff? It just doesn't hit right because it's like or like even Have I Got News for You, which I used to watch as a kid and used to be hilarious because it used to be during the Blair years.
It's iconic, yeah. Blair is the perfect guy to satirize.
Because it was when all the major parties all believed the same thing, so it was just a parade where you're all just trying to find weird differences. That's dream satire because you add stuff on. Now there's nothing you can say.
There's nothing you can say. But with Blair is the perfect guy to satirize, and that's where you get stuff like The Thick of It coming in, because with Blairite politics and all of this jazz and stuff is that he brought in the idea of spin and media and media manipulation. So there's something when there's such a chaos behind the scenes whilst trying to create the perfect presentation of a political image in front of the scenes. There's so much potential for comedy about working out what's happening in between. With Trump, every's just laid bare. Everything's laid bare. There's no guessing what's happening because he's tweeting it. So no one can do any satire because you can't exaggerate it, and two, there's nothing hidden anymore.
Yeah. And it is just incredible that people are so furious about Trump, and it just proves how democracy is broken. Where it's like the champion who has been chosen is Joe Biden. It's just brilliant. It's just brilliant that all a huge percentage of the
so
population
old.
are desperate to get rid of Trump.
He's really
And
old.
the amount of vested interest where people are so desperate to get rid of Trump, and all that can be mustered through democracy
Because
was Joe Biden.
I think that's because people panic. So like when you've got such a fringe man in power, you kind of want to choose someone who isn't controversial in the slightest, although he is incredibly controversial. But because he seems old, and he was Obama's vice president.
Yeah.
So he seems
And he's
non-controversial.
He's smiley as well.
He's a smiley old jovial man. He's so old though. Like I know Trump does sleepy Biden. That's fucking. It's not. I'm not peddling the Trump line, but he is a very old man.
Yeah.
There's quite a lot of interviews of him. It looks like he's forgetting where he is, and I feel like America are panicking because they want to get him out.
Yeah.
But then so they choose someone that seems safe.
Yeah.
But in reality, he's just old.
Yeah.
They're choosing someone who's been around for a long time, but he's just old.
But that's what
he's an old man.
That is a weird thing about Western democracy. Is it's implied that whoever's in charge has been chosen by the people. That's sort of the basis of democracy. Is that it's like you've chosen the best person for the job. That's what most people think.
They've won the argument.
They've won the argument. So it does put a hilarious thing that whoever you choose, it's just funny thinking that that's the best that we could choose. In like a failed state.
This is what we've got.
Yeah, in like a failed state with like a eccentric dictator. No matter how fucking crazy that person is, it's not a reflection of the people because they didn't choose him. He just stayed there via military coup, and it's just because he doesn't let anyone vote him out. But when we have like shit leaders like Boris Johnson, like Donald Trump, like
it really feels like just pushing them
like,
onto a stage where they haven't prepared for,
and we chose him.
Bright light shining on their face.
This is the best we could do. There's 370 million people in America, and Joe Biden's the champion.
The man.
You know when two armies are facing off against each other, and they used to try and like, let's settle this by putting our champions against each other.
Yeah, like
Joe Biden
Brad
gets
Pitt in Troy.
Yeah, like exactly. Joe Biden.
Joe Biden's our Brad Pitt. He's our Achilles, or more like our Achilles heel.
Oh wow. So you don't get that. You don't get that on your normal podcast.
I do normal podcast. But speaking of holidays,
yeah.
Do you want me to rattle off? There's a nice little it wasn't actually. It's not. We're doing a Brits abroad theme, I guess. But that's
the general motif of the episode.
But if we loosely translate that into general holidaying, there is something hilarious about a family holiday.
Yeah.
I think it's just something about vulnerability we were talking about yesterday.
Yeah, because I think that what is interesting about holidays is I read this quite interesting article about how like we shouldn't judge people like whenever politicians go on holiday, there's always a huge furore. Like David Cameron going to like a tax exile island and like.
Well, our politicians aren't allowed to relax.
Yeah, so like whenever politicians go to holiday and you find out where it is, there's always like a tabloid storm about it. And I read this article. It's like we shouldn't judge them as to where they go to holidays, but it does say everything we need to know about them.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
so wherever they go, it does epitomise.
So what does a politician holidaying in Greece say about you? Say about the politician?
Well, there's no politician holidaying in Greece, but you're saying
if they were to, where's a classic politician's holiday destination?
Well, not a lot of the time it is going. If they're like Boris Johnson, they'll go to like Richard Branson's island or something, and that says everything we need to know.
Oh, absolutely.
About how they're.
Where did Corbyn holiday?
Corbyn probably holidayed a lot, mate.
He did in holiday. He was on his hands and knees, crawling around London, picking up everyone's trash.
Yeah, but for example, he probably went somewhere like Dorset, like knowing Corbyn, or like somewhere just like not exciting at all. And then the right wing would jump on that, saying, you know, in the same way
he's got no imagination.
He's got no imagination. But it does tell you everything you need to know where you go on holiday. Like I just think there's something hilariously vulnerable about relaxing on holiday. It's like not traveling. Traveling, you can still work as being like kind of interesting and like it doesn't. It's not embarrassing.
Mind expansion.
Yeah, it's
rather
mind
than
expansion.
Relaxation.
You can post about it. I would never ever post about me holiday. The idea of me lying by a pool with a cocktail, maybe reading a
all
book.
Holiday pictures that exist on the internet of me were involuntary.
It's not. It's a really kind. Like I always.
There's something about slightly sunburned, a bit tan, kind of.
It's like it's weirdly hedonistic a little bit. Do you know what I mean? It's
I agree. You do have an obsession with anything that seems moderately hedonistic. If ever I'm enjoying myself moderately, Horatio always pops his head in. It's been a bit hedonistic today. Having a bit of a hedonistic one.
You're a hedonistic man. Have you seen the amount of cheese he puts in his ham and cheese sandwich? It's absurd.
It's well, it's more that I have a ham and cheese sandwich with like half a block of sliced cheese on the side.
That's hedonism.
The amount of cheese I consume is hedonistic. There's no question about it. I agree.
Yeah, I don't actually. So like people listening, friends would say, Horatio doesn't bring up hedonism that much. I do it with you. It's a more personal thing, I think. It's not like a part.
But it's you do this smile that's like that's a lot of cheese. No.
Not judging.
I'm not judging.
It's a lot of cheese.
Every time. I want to live in a house where I'm free to consume as much cheese as I bloody darn wish.
Wrong house, mate.
Wrong house.
But what are you like on family holidays?
Well, I've had a couple of interesting family holidays. My parents got divorced when I was younger, year 6, probably about 12 years old, maybe.
A big connection between me and Andrew is we both have divorced parents. It's kind of a miracle that it's taken this long to properly talk about.
Christ, yeah. We used to bring it up
we did a whole radio show where the whole thing was that our parents
at least once an episode, there'd be something in it. So quickly, because I have to rattle off the story quickly in order for I have to rattle off the situation of the divorce quickly in order for the story to make sense.
Yeah. And not to upset.
It's all shame.
Involved.
No, there's no shame. We're all friends. We've all spoke about it. It's all good. There's no stress. Love you, mum. It's all great. But the situation of the divorce is that my mum cheated on my dad with our best friend's family. The dad of that best friend. We did many things together. She then cheated with him. With him.
Wow.
It's all chill. It's like
a take a break article.
It is.
And this, I think...
But it's great.
I'm not a scientist, but I'd say there is a subtle link between this and the copious amounts of cheese he eats. Anyway, go ahead.
It is a coping mechanism. They then stay together for a bit.
Very emotionally tough. You're 12 years old.
I'm 12 years old. It's still chill, though. They then move in together. But for me, to be fair, it was more like, sick, my best friend's going to be my stepbrother, not really grasping what the fuck was happening. Yeah. Then I have an older sister, and my best friend at the time also has an older sister. So they took it a bit worse because they were older and kind of understood what the fuck was happening.
Yeah. You're just a child, you don't really get it.
I'm an idiot. Yeah. I'm a nincompoop. Still am. But they then decided, so there was a lot of tension in the household. This new household that we were all fucking living at. They decided the best way to work this out was if we go on a canal boat holiday in Oxford.
Awful decision, to be fair.
How many of us were there? 6. How big's a canal boat? Not big. Not big at all. So then...
That's such a bad decision.
So we then went up to Oxford for a week on a canal
That's
boat.
way too long. That's a 2-day, 3-day break.
It's
a mini break is what you should be going to. A week's a long time.
Maybe not on a canal boat either. Maybe somewhere where there is a potentiality to get some space from another human being. Me and my friend were sleeping on the fucking floor of the boat because there was no room.
Yeah.
There was no room. So there were a lot of arguments were 80% of the time, and there was a lot of, I'll pull the canal boat over if we don't, get on. We didn't get on. The canal boat was pulled over on several occasions.
But that's not like stopping a car.
There's a lot of, because we're pulling over. Like,
I'm pulling over this canal.
Andrew, can you jump over and moor it? Can you say, Dan, you need to go back and can you just... There's a lot of admin involved in the canal boat. And it was an absolute fucking disaster. An absolute fucking disaster.
I can imagine.
One of the most... it was. There's many reasons why it was unsuccessful, but I think just all you need is the overview of the story of the situation we were in and the decision to go on a canal boat for a week.
There was something about you opening locks, I remember.
Oh, that was the fun part. That was the good part.
That was the good part.
That was in a canal, you've got to go. There's differences in water height.
Sure.
So you've got to. Again, I've learnt a lot from this. Yeah. Emotionally and about canals. You go into one and then you have to like fill up the water so your boat goes up and then you go across it. But I would look forward to the locks because me and my friend were in charge of doing the locks, and that was the only moment I could get any space from anyone. It's just us doing that, and I lived for that shit. But it's all good now. Everyone's fine. Mum is not with the man.
Did you speak to the best friend at all?
No.
When did that die off?
About a year after the canal boat. I'm not saying they're linked.
But they are.
We're very different people.
Sure.
He was like a young best friend.
Yeah.
He's way too nice.
Yeah.
He works at a charity. He's just a very
your kind of
lovely
guy.
person.
Yeah, I was talking
not a
about
lovely
this
person.
on stage. I was trying to work on a bit
You
about.
just talking about my parents' divorce.
I was
on
talking
stage
about your
at the
parents'
Canal
divorce
Boat.
on the
I need to
Canal Boat
start going to
stage.
your gigs to check what's happening.
No, because I was talking about the concept of blood brothers.
Yes.
And how.
Saw the musical recently, actually.
Oh really? Oh yeah.
For Mum's birthday.
I don't actually know what it's about. It's about blood brothers.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
Well, it's about two twins who were separated. The mum had like the main characters. The mum in
But
it.
are they blood brothers in the sense?
No,
of,
they're twins.
Okay, so that's not what
She
I'm talking
couldn't
about.
afford to have one, so she gave one to a rich family.
Okay, so that's not the blood brother. That's actually not blood brothers in my. That's not blood brothers in the sense. It's
No.
brothers by blood.
It's
not
if we
blood
were to
brothers.
cut ourselves
Yeah,
and go,
then you do that like
we
that.
are
You
bonded.
bleed into each other.
Yes.
And so like Genghis Khan did it with his blood brother.
Yeah.
But you do it when you're like 8 years old in these kind of tribal communities, which I'm just like, imagine like pairing yourself for life with your best mate when you're 8 years old. What a fucking nightmare that would be.
You're not ready. You're not ready to make
No,
that kind
of course
decision.
not. Like,
I'd mean it would be a nightmare.
If I was friends with my 8-year-old
If I had
friend,
to
it's
maintain
fucking
relationships, I
yeah.
decided we're going to be eternal when I was 6 years old. It's
terrible
not the
decision.
one.
Genghis Khan, great example. He had his blood brother. The guy, when Genghis Khan was raising an army, he raised another army and tried to destroy Genghis Khan. He had to boil.
Oh
He had
yeah.
to boil his blood brother's alive.
Did you cover this on another? Did you cover this on a Boys Gone Wild?
I did one
You
on
did a
Genghis
Genghis Khan, didn't you?
Yeah, talked about his.
Yeah, because you never know what your blood brother's going to grow up to be, and
I
it could
think,
well be
yeah.
a mortal enemy in battle.
Exactly. I just think any friend you have when you're 6 years old is a terrible one to like lay down long term.
Absolutely, I've maintained none of them. So I had seen Mum. I took Mum to Blood Brothers for her birthday. My mum and my dad have birthdays like 2 or 3 days next to each other in January.
Okay, nice.
So I got them both tickets to see. It was the first time. It was when I started having a job, so I could actually buy them something nice rather
As opposed
than
to a Droopon.
as opposed to a Droopon. Which did we cover last episode?
Yeah, we did cover.
We covered last
yeah.
episode. So it was the first present I could actually get them.
Yeah.
So bought Mum 2 tickets to Blood Brothers. We went. It was a lovely time. Bought Dad 2 tickets to go to the comedian to go and see stand-up comedy with a glass of wine.
Sure.
Essentially expecting, maybe
It's a
it could
nice
be a
moment
nice
for you and your dad.
father-son bonding
Yeah.
time. I give him the envelope. He opens it and he looks at his fiancée and goes, "Are we free that day?"
Brutal. Absolute savagery.
I was free that day. I'm always free.
Because it has been over the last 4 years. It has 5 years. You have been kind of looking for moments to like rekindle that father-son bond that was so
Absolutely.
strong, and like looking for moments where to do it. And I just love
That was the one.
That was the one. You go to the comedy together. It'll be a great time to get out.
It's really reaching an arm out and then just having it slapped away, but softly slapped away. And then,
That's almost worse.
and then
The
just-
silent killer.
and then
The
just
baby-faced assassin.
looking into the sky. They had a lovely time, and then he did.
I'm sure they did. I remember them. Oh my god,
Then
his
he,
Facebook post.
then he did a Facebook post of him and his fiance, now wife. Congratulations.
Congratulations, Bill.
On Facebook of them at the comedy being like, "Thanks for a lovely Christmas present, Andrew." It was his birthday present. It was his birthday present.
That's so savage.
It was his birthday present. He got me Droopon for Christmas,
But
which is a round of golf that he hasn't redeemed.
He hasn't redeemed. Well, it's run
Well,
out.
no one redeems
Yeah.
any of the Droopons, in fairness.
But your family do have an obsession with musicals that goes fully against you and your character in general.
I think they are the most detestable form of art on the planet.
Yeah.
I got drunk one Christmas and said that to Mum, but that's besides the point. Actually, let's quickly. So all of every single one of my family does probably like 3 musicals
Yeah.
a year.
Yeah.
They're part of the.
They're like a budget Von Trapp family.
I think their dream is for us to be coming down
Yeah.
the what's the song from? What's the song for Sound of Music?
The Hills Are Alive.
No, but it's the other one where they're all, when
when
they're all
they go down
landing
the
down the
steps.
stairs. It's like, hello.
Goodbye.
Auf
Auf Wiedersehen.
goodbye. I
Goodbye.
hate to go.
Yeah, that's the dream for you guys. Yeah.
They wanted that every morning of us coming down in our pajamas.
Yeah.
But then they got divorced.
Or that
so
scene
you
in
can't
Step
have
Brothers
everything.
where they're, you guys know that it seems to me reminds me of childhood memories. Just harmonising, crushing at the Cohen.
That's their dream, but I seem to be the runt of the litter.
Yeah,
in
you
that.
kind of are in some ways you are, in some ways you're not. But you're kind of like Mr. Misery Guts in your family because they're all a bundle of sunshine, singing musical lovers who really are the talk of the town. And
I'm in the background, coming on podcasts saying I think they're the most detestable form of art on the planet. But they've got like a group of really good for their like dad and mum met in the musical scene when they were very young.
It's very sexually charged, but not the musical scene. It's not like West End.
Yeah.
This is local theatre. So this is Hayward's Heath, isn't
I
it?
think I want to keep it in, but there was that when Dad was in Full Monty, and this is tying in the relationship with my dad and the musicals, is that there's a really tender moment between him. It's like a song between him and his on-stage son. Yeah. And I remember sitting in the crowd being quite young, and I was like, he's probably thinking about me. I kind of look at it, like, is he looking at me? He knows I'm here. Is it? Yeah, he's probably thinking about me. So most of the emotional relationship I have with my father has been expressed through amateur dramatic production.
Sure, Amdram.
But they've all got a group of very good friends.
But it's local. It's local.
It's local. It's Burgess Hill Musical Theatre and Operatic Society.
That's where it all happens.
Like the page.
This is where the carnage happens.
Dad's treasurer of it, actually.
Well, he's the big shit. He's the big
kahuna.
Yeah, he's like the Hollywood
He's the leading
superstar.
man.
Yeah, he's like the leading guy.
But that's where the problem comes
spits
from.
out his coffee, too much milk in it.
Yeah.
Spends hours in the dressing room.
No, he's a diva. He's a nightmare.
Yeah.
But when you got that kind of raw skill for delivering numbers from Chicago like they're nothing.
He does comedy. He does drama. Name it.
He's the Dame in pantomimes recently.
He does it all. Well, that's because he's nearing the end of his career. Do you know what I mean? Because he's lost a bit of the kind of youthful energy.
He's not the spunky leading man anymore.
So now he's kind of
the comedy part. He's the silly older man in the comedy part. But that part of that is where there's a tension, because most of their friends are from the musical theatre world, and all of their kids are now getting into musical theatre.
Yeah.
All of them. I'm almost the only one. I think the only one who's not getting into it. So then with Bill, my dad, being the leading man, I think there was an expectation of, his son is going to come and be the leading man as well. But now he looks at me like I mean nothing.
It is actually, that is a really funny thing, is that a lot of the reason that, because it's not, your dad loves you very much. That's not a thing. It's all joking. He's indifferent to you is the thing. That's the thing. It's not like there's any like fucking Andrew. It's the kind of indifference.
And I think a lot of that comes from not doing musicals.
If everyone, when they're raising a son, normally it's quite a conservative thing of like, I'm going to raise my boy, he's going to be a man's man, and if he turns out to be camp or gay or anything, then the conservative men. But
only thing he wanted me to do.
He just wanted you to carry on the
be the leading man in the Burgess Hills production of West Side Story. Yeah. But I never did.
Yeah.
I never did. And I've flirted with musicals. Yeah. I've done a couple.
Yeah.
But I was always got put as the silly part.
Yeah, yeah.
I was never the leading man.
I can't see you being the serious. No.
And I'm not sincere enough.
No, you don't have
and
it.
They saw that from a young age. But yeah, no, it's an interesting because a lot of the conversations around the meal table now are like when it's me, my sister, and dad. Yeah. Like they slip into just talking about musicals. So I do have a very strong wealth of musical knowledge.
You whip out a lot of facts
because I've fucking seen them all. I've seen every one of them.
Top ones, worst ones.
The only good musicals that exist are the Full Monty.
That's a good one. Guys and Dolls.
Guys and Dolls is no,
trash.
No. Absolute garbage. So Full Monty, the Book of Mormon.
Book of Mormon's great,
again,
hilarious.
But they're not doing that at Burgess Hill Musical Theatre Society because it's too risque or a bit too. Well, they might do maybe.
No.
Never.
I would love to see that.
Never. Because they've also got to get like a half black cast or like an African cast, which they just can't do.
Yeah, it has to be black.
Because there was one part in the Full Monty. There's a black part, and there was Dad. The guy who played it was the guy who was a waiter at Zizzy's that Dad used to always go to. And really? Dad literally just asked him, do you want to be in a musical?
The only black guy in Burgess Hill?
The only black guy in Burgess Hill.
Have you heard?
He did it.
Have you seen that film, The Last Black Man in San Francisco, or like heard of it?
Oh yeah, I've seen
That'd be great to make a new film.
The Last Black Man in Burgess Hill. Following his story of joining Burgess Hill.
Amdram
Society. But that's literally how they got the black guy for the part.
He was game though.
He was game. He was great.
He
killed it.
He
really absolutely killed it.
Show.
And he's been in a couple of musicals since, because once you plant that seed, it will grow into a beautiful flower. Everyone should do a musical.
Okay, let's list good and bad musicals.
Good and bad musicals. So Full Monty's good.
Yeah.
So like, as I say, Book of Mormon.
Yeah.
Hamilton, everyone's jazzing on
about.
I
watched Hamilton.
I haven't seen it. These are more
boring.
recent ones.
Didn't like it.
You didn't
Everyone's
like it?
mad for it.
Melissa loved it. She said it was fantastic.
Maybe
you just didn't get it, man.
Maybe. I don't know what it is. Just like, I don't know. It's just kind of, it's sort of like, it felt like a history rap. which is like, do you know what I mean?
From the clips I've seen, I get.
Do you know what I mean? It's like rapping about. It's like, now I'm going to tell you what happened in 1066.
The Bill of Rights is an interesting
It's just
thing.
making like, oh, history doesn't always have to be lame, but
It's
cool.
cool.
It's like turning your
Drop a
hat and like the new substitute teacher comes in. It's like,
Yeah.
history like you've never seen it before. And
76, there was a war. Then everyone was poor, but we have to think about it.
I'm a silly man.
How America was made. Yeah, no.
Learn your history, know your culture.
Whilst keeping it trill.
Keeping it trill.
Keep it trill,
real.
but learn something.
Yeah.
So apparently that's good. But the only one, Les Mis, is the one
Yeah,
that
that's
is
good.
is held up.
Yeah.
But everything else is trash. Everything. The problem I always find about it is the moment. It's the thing that's really uncomfortable for me when watching it is that small moment of when you transition from dialogue to song.
Yeah.
So it's like we're just having a conversation, and suddenly,
yeah,
so
we're
I'll be
just having a
talking,
talking,
and then the
and
next
then
word I say comes here, and then we're clapping. Everyone's happy. We're all so happy.
And I feel it too. Oh, I love those ones where it's like tries to show people in two different spaces, like two star-crossed lovers, and
Yeah.
like one singing like "She loves me, I love him."
Always looking out to stage right and left with a spotlight shone, and then
Yeah.
nothing. And then in the middle, there's the crew frantically putting together the next scene.
Was that in Amdram?
In
Or do you
Amdram.
saying yeah?
Because
in West End,
that's a good point about Amdram is like the scene changes are not slick. It's not like it's not. You can really hear the scurrying
the
around
clunking.
of the husbands of the wives who haven't signed up for this but need to show an interest. David did the sound once.
Really?
For it.
Marriage is about compromise.
Marriage is about compromise, and so if you have to then put on all your black clothes and then just run around putting up scenes, but yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I think we've come to the end of the episode. So as I think I'll make it, it's good to try and wrap up conclusions. So if we can try and get the motif, what we talked about nationalism.
We talked
Harry
surface
Maguire.
area is becoming more important than skill.
Yeah, in football. We talked about divorce, indifference towards paternal indifference towards the child.
Brexit and Brits abroad come from the same historical consciousness and memory of colonialism.
Okay, so I'm going to try and do this every week where I'm going to try and get you to try and sum up all the themes. Can you try and bring divorce...
In a sentence?
Divorce... No, just in a closing thought. The camera will cut to you. Divorce... so I'll just give you what we need to wrap up. We need to link divorce, Brits abroad, colonialism, and musicals.
Sometimes father-son relationships are tricky. Sometimes father-son relationships are tricky.
To camera, yeah.
Yeah, I'm doing this a fucking camera.
Okay, Drew's final word.
Sometimes father-son relationships are tricky, much like it is to once be a great power in the world.
There we go, that's good.
And then lose that power. No, let me go again.
Okay, right. So I'm going to give you a setup when it's... so what have we learned today?
Sometimes father-son relationships are tricky.
What have we learned today then, Drew?
One more.
So what have we... You just got to trust the words that come out of your mouth. And you do,
I am. I did, but you kept laughing.
You do a thing, which is when you don't trust it, you go... You just got to... Even if it's nonsense, just say it with confidence.
Yeah.
As if
Well, I had it and then you laughed.
What did we learn today, Drew?
Oh, fuck, us laughing. Sorry.
So what did we learn today, Drew?
Sometimes father and son relationships are tricky. Much like history, when you once were a great power and now you're not. But at the end of the day, everything can be solved by a good old song and dance.
Thanks, guys. See you next week.